I don't mind.
No,
using
bro,
either,
these are okay. These are okay for me. I'm just gonna put this a little bit closer.
This is good, bro. It actually gives them podcast-like voice.
Yeah, it's a podcast vibe, right?
Right?
Awesome, man. Hey,
Wow,
thank you for saying yes to doing this podcast.
Nah,
first
bro,
of all,
thank you for having me. This is fun.
thank you for having me. I'm at your house.
Well, it's like, it's always a fun, man. So,
I'm glad to see you again after all these years. Honestly,
bro, it's like
it's been too long.
It has been too long. Because you were not there for our graduation because you had studied abroad at that time.
You gotta put it a bit closer so you can hear yourself. You know,
All right.
like this.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I was just saying that because you went to study abroad at our graduation time. So
yeah, I
it's
didn't
been
make it to your
almost like-
graduation.
So 2019 since.
Since
2019.
2019.
2020, 21, 2023. So it's like 4 years.
Wow, long time. Time goes by quick.
That's good, bro. This is good.
Good to see you again after all these years. Now it's time to talk about you.
Bro, I don't think I do well in terms of spotlight, but okay, let's give it a try.
There's no spotlight. It's just a you and me conversation, honestly.
All right.
Fair enough.
Let's give it a try.
Bro, let's get started with like your place of birth. Where were you born? And share your name.
Sure.
Your full name.
Okay, my full name is Prasun Shrestha. I don't have a middle name, so just Prasun
me neither.
Shrestha. Bro, oh yeah, because Digrut is the last name.
Yeah.
'Cause you don't count that as a middle one.
No, there's no
Okay,
middle name
cool.
involved.
But yeah, so I was born in the southeastern part of Nepal, in a place called Itahari.
Itahari.
Itahari, yeah. So that's the place I was born and raised, And the place of birth in itself, I was actually born at home, bro.
You're born at home.
Yeah, I mean, like still to this day, my hometown does not have a hospital, like at the maternal hospital. So if people want to give birth, they probably go to like the neighboring cities, and that's probably bigger and things like that. So I was born at home,
Who was there for your birth? It just
So this,
like
my
did
mom.
a doctor? Yeah, I would expect her to be there.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, so that's given hopefully.
Was there a doctor present?
No,
or?
midwife.
Oh, a midwife. Yeah.
So there was one midwife, and there was just a bunch of people too. And like my mom told me, like it was raining cats and dogs, and when she was going to labor at that time, it was raining really hard. It's almost like theatrical in many sense. And then because I have a big family, so my dad's side, my uncle's side, so my dad's the younger, and my dad's elder brother, we all live together under the same roof.
Yeah.
Right. So I have first cousins who also live with. Who we lived together, right? We grew together too, and then they were the one who just went out to find the midwife, and then she came over. She was the only person.
They went to go find her from another town.
Nah, she was in the town.
Okay, fair enough. Man, that's a must have been a like good experience for all your family. And then
it was great being born.
How long did you live in that town for? How long did you stay there for?
So I was there until.
And what is the population of that town?
So now it's getting bigger because it's a sub-metropolitan city now. So probably I don't know the numbers, but certainly bigger. But when I was growing up, it was a very small town. It's sort of it's not even. Like typically when people think of like Nepal, right? You typically think of like the mountains or like, all the. It makes sense, it gets the international attention and all of that. But I'm from the plains, so it's the lands are fertile. But yeah, so I was there until I was 15, and after 15, I just moved to Kathmandu to finish my high school.
Okay, so you were saying that like your place that you were born is kind of like the plains. Like paint me more of a picture of what that looks like. Like what do you see on the street? Like you're 9 years old, you're on the street, like what do you see?
So it's not a tourist place by any standards. Like even if we have to go do anything touristy, we just go to different city, right? So it's strictly the place is known for just its artery across the country because it is plain, and a lot of the it's like how do I put it? How there are certain highways in this country, how like certain cities connect those highways, right? Like you go from east to the west, from the north to the south. Like my hometown is that.
Oh, so it's more like a stopping place.
Yes, exactly.
Trucks,
so typically when
drive through.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of movements of vehicles that goes through, like a lot of traffics, and my hometown is not too far from India as well. Like the southern part and the eastern part of the southern part of the country and the eastern part of the country are like surrounded by neighboring states in India. So a lot of the vehicles also come from those regions, you know. So if I have to tell anybody like what my hometown is like, I just look at the roads, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my hometown.
Oh, so what was it like growing up there? Like as a child, like what would you do in your childhood? And you like you mentioned that you live with your family, like
Right.
with a lot of people in the same
Right.
house. So what was that like? It must have been
Bro,
some crazy stories there.
In hindsight, I feel lucky, like lucky that I grew up in a joint family. To be honest, because I feel like typically the notion of family, especially in the Western world, or like even look at the United States, you know, you don't see that many joint families, right? It's fairly nuclear, and maybe you have your like grandparents and things like that too. But I grew up with my, let's say, first cousins. You know, I think when I was growing, we probably had like 10, 11 members.
11 members sleeping in the same house.
My dad has. My dad has.
Yeah, remember as you're speaking to them.
You gotta keep reminding me of that, bro.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, bro. I gotta do a better job at this. But yeah. So my dad is the youngest, and he has three elder brothers and one elder sister. Right, so my dad and his and his eldest brother, and then if you imagine like my dad and then his eldest brother, like, you know, everybody in the family tree. So we were in the same household, right? So my uncle's son, daughters, his son, like grandchildren. So they were all in the same house, and so I certainly grew up with them, you know. It felt any time of day it would be like chaos.
Yeah.
Like, you can imagine kids running. It's like Home Alone scene, bro. It's like kids running around, somebody's doing some other things, you know. Like I remember we had to wait for our turns just to get dinner. Well,
create the line, you know.
It's like the kids eat first, and then there's the kids have to eat first, and there's like all the dudes in the house, and it's like the people who are involved in the kitchen who they eat last, right? So it's typically my mom, my sister-in-law, you know, they would be the last person to eat in the family. I mean, the dining table is also small, to be fair. That could have been why. But yeah, it's pure chaos and running around the family. It never felt like it never felt silent in that sense.
Yeah,
you know,
there's always people in the house. No matter where you went, you couldn't hide from anyone.
Yeah, bro, it's like a fiesta, man. Seriously, like I mean, in hindsight, I feel like I like that. You know, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's a very special way to grow up with all of your family around you, not even like next door, but like in your house.
But they in your face, like, because like I have my nieces and nephews, right, who are young. So my brothers, daughters, and sisters. So my first cousin's my first cousin has a brother and as a son and a daughter, right? And they're like, I'm not too far off in terms of age difference. So if let's say I'm 27 now, so they're probably like 22ish. So, you know, and then bro, they will be in my face every morning. I will wake up like, it's time for like breakfast, or let's go do this, that, and that. Like, you know, everywhere I would go out, they're like, where are you going? I want to go with you. And things like that.
So like, what kind of activities would you do out there in
terms of activities?
Yeah, like,
bro,
like you went to school, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You went to school out there in your town, and what was that like? You know, I was like growing up as a child there.
I mean, to be fair, I was a rough kid, bro. Rough in the sense, like, I don't think I was
doing hood rat stuff all the time. I know you.
that had its time, I would say. But I think growing up, certainly I was not, you know, like an obedient child by any measure, right? So luckily I was good at school. Okay. And I think that kept me, like, they gave me a lot of permissions to do a lot of things left, right, and center, right? So for instance, I remember like every day after school, we would just go out in the field. Again, like, you know, my hometown is fertile, so the land is flat. So that also gave us a lot of opportunity to play. Like, you know, so growing up, I used to play a lot of cricket.
A lot of cricket.
So cricket, and then like, you know, football later on. But honestly, anything I could get my hands on too, like, you know, ping pong, volleyball, I'll take it. You know? And that's what you do as a kid. I feel like, you know, you just
stay active, right?
Yeah, you do dumb shit too, bro.
What kind of dumb shit did you do? Did you ever get in trouble, you know, in school back then?
In school, a lot of the times, and like I said, bro, it's the academics, like that kept me fucking. I don't know if you can swear, but I'm trying not to.
It's okay.
But so it's one time I remember this. You know, I was probably in second grade at that time. Might have been second or third, right? And I used to watch a lot of like WWE. You know, and
Man.
then I got into a fight with one of my friends, and we used to have a break. I think so. In every school, in a day of school, we used to have like 8 different classes.
Yep.
Right, a class would be like 45 minutes each, and after I think 4 classes, we would have a tiffin break. Right, so that's the time you get lunch.
Okay.
Pretty much, right? And I think I got into an argument and fight. I remember, like, for some reason, I still remember this.
Yeah.
So got into a fight with this friend, you know, and I hold his hand like this, and my legs are wrapped around, like
Doing the WWE on your
Bro,
friend.
No, and then you know the character Rob Van Dam?
Okay.
Yeah. So he's the guy who we used to wear like the zebra cross looking, like he was always coming there. His thing was like Rob Van Dam. I literally remember locking him like this, and then before I actually made the move, I was like, Rob. I did that.
You did the Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam. Bro, and then I broke his arm.
Oh, you broke his arm?
I twisted it and I broke his arm.
No way.
Bro, and that thing really threw me off, because I thought, you know, we're just playing, and then, you know, we're like just the kid stuff.
Then it got
But then
serious.
it got really, because I could see his white foam coming out of his mouth.
Oh no.
Damn, bro, I got so beaten by the principal then.
You did not do the WWE
Bro,
again. I'll tell
when
you
I
that.
went home, I had like, so we used to get beaten a lot with the sticks.
Yeah.
You know, they're just made out of like the bamboo or some sort of wood, right? And I remember he stripping my ass off. Like spanking my naked. I had like stripes, so like, you know. But yeah, but the dumb stuff, you know.
Those are involved in every childhood.
Yeah, man, that is true though, you know. It makes for a good story too, I guess.
But you did good in academics, which is important.
Yeah, that I think I was always good at. Somehow I was good in school. You know, I think so. I think something about Nepal is also it's very prominent in the ranking system.
Okay.
Right. So every terminal exam, so you would have. So for instance, in an academic year, we would have different what we call terminal exams. So like if an academic year is, let's say, split into semesters, we would split it into different terminal exams. Right. So first terminal, second terminal, third, and the final. Right. And then every terminal exams, we would have results, and that results would be pasted on the notice board, bro. So you would see everybody.
You would see what everybody got.
Yeah. So like who failed,
You
who
could
passed.
not hide.
Yeah, but who like, and then it's always in descending order, right? So
Yeah.
who came first, who came second, who came third, and we used to also have a roll call, right? So like roll number 1,
Yeah.
you have to be present. Like that's how we did attendance at that
Yeah.
time. And it was in descending order, so roll 1 first goes first, and that was also like dictated by how you did in class.
Okay.
So if you're like the best in the class, your roll number would be 1, and you'll also be the first in attendance, right?
Wow.
So
So it was like they reminded you of it every single
bro.
day.
Yeah. I mean, it can be really competitive too. Like, you know, and I think in hindsight, someone also feels like, damn, like, you know, there's no privacy at all.
Yeah.
But we didn't know any better at that time, so. You know, and luckily I still, my roll number was 1.
Yeah. Oh,
You
number
know?
1.
Yeah,
Always
so-
number 1.
Yeah, until I turned teenage. then different story. But, yeah.
Hey, so you were the one that's flexing. Hey, come home. I got caught number 1
I was
today.
like, come on, this is just usual, man. But I was somehow also pissed too, I feel, because I would have my friends and their parents would be like, if you just go and get a B in the top 10 in the class, I'll buy you a bicycle. Or
Yeah.
I'll buy you a this. And I'm like, I come first every single exam. I'm like, I don't get shit.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I mean, those academics finally, you said when you were 15, you left your town.
Right, yeah.
Was that because of school, or why
It
did
was-
you leave your town?
It was primarily because of school, I think so. Yeah, because when I would...
Remember the mic. If you can't hear yourself, they can't hear you.
Okay, cool.
Or like,
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean... So when I was turning 15, I think...
I'm gonna cut that out, by the way.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You gotta do the magic, bro.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so when I was 15, the academic... So the school cycle in Nepal like ends in grade 10 or like the sophomore year of high school,
Yeah.
right? So after grade 10, when you go to grade 11, that's when we call college.
Okay.
So when you turn 15 or 16, and you will technically be a college student, right? The college here doesn't start, you know, until let's say you go to college for like bachelor's or even like master's. We still say at school, right? So when I was after I was done with my 10th grade, I had to change schools. That's typically how things were.
Okay.
You had to move to a different school, or like you can continue at the same school if they had like additional like college.
Yeah.
So
But your town didn't have that.
yeah, well, I don't know if talent is the right word, but I also wanted to at that time sort of learn in a sense.
Okay.
And the curriculum, you know, in the Nepalese education system at that time was, even now in many ways, sort of like it was strictly very like memorizations. You know, for instance, I remember asking some sort of like, you know, I would ask my teachers, for instance, okay,
Yeah.
why do you study this? And their response would be like, oh, just to get a good grade. You
Yeah.
know, I was like, but I think the learning component was just completely zero, right? And I wanted to study like something, a different education system, and that's when I came across like what is called like ZC A levels. I don't know if you know that.
What is that?
So basically, it's a high school degree that comes out of the University of Cambridge.
Okay.
Right, so the students in UK, a lot of the Malaysians and the Malaysia, Singapore, like even India, Pakistan, like the students actually take this A levels. So typically you would see students like, oh, I did A levels, right? So that just means you studied a certain curriculum set by this University of Cambridge, right? And then that would be the last 2 years of a high school. And once you're done with that, you will just be a high school degree, but instead of like the one coming from the nation or like coming from the country, it will be the one that's coming from University of Cambridge.
Okay.
And that has very strict requirements. Like, you know, we had to study their curriculum. You know, we didn't even have like Nepali because they didn't have a subset at that time.
Yeah.
You know, the exams were set by them.
Yeah.
And I was very strict in terms of they would make the questions. We would have to sign up for exams, and they were like twice a year. So it was very, it was, I think it was probably the best syllabus I've studied till date. You know, in terms of the learning component, I was like, damn, like they really emphasize on like you learning, making sure, and not necessarily just getting good grades in class.
So this school that you went to, was in the capital already, or was it?
So this was in
Kathmandu.
This was in Kathmandu because.
So you left your family then? You were living on your own, or?
Yeah, bro. I've been living. Yeah, I ever since I left home when I was 15, I haven't been back.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, I primarily left because of the school, because I wanted to study that curriculum.
Yep.
And that was either just in the capital city, and at that time it was very rough because my family didn't want me to study that. They were like, well, you could just finish your high school here, right? There's some colleges that you could go to, and they're not bad. You know, you could still go to. And also I can understand from a parent's perspective too, because their first line of action will always be defense.
Yeah.
Right? Because you want to protect your child, you don't know where they're going. And I was a rowdy kid too, so you know, you don't know where this kid is gonna go. I was prime in my teenagers as well, so yeah, that's when I first went to Kathmandu as a student. And then
where were you living? You were living in the dorms?
So I was living with my brother at that time. So, and then my brother, so I did live. I had my spells in the dorm. Like whenever there were exams, I would just go to dorm because that was just easy in a sense, because your meals are prepared for it, and somebody would just do your like laundry and things like that. That would just save me time to study and all of that. But yeah, so I was living with my brother. He was doing his bachelor's at a university, like at a university there. So I just stayed with him for the 2 years, and I also took a gap year. So that's the 3 years in total. Yeah.
What did you do during your gap year? Tell me more about that.
So,
sounds fun,
bro. I studied A levels. I did 2 years there, and I finished my high school. Right?
Yeah.
And A levels always has these connotations about, this being an international degree.
Yeah.
So this will naturally take you to, you want to go. You probably are thinking to apply to the US.
Yeah.
Or like at that time, I feel like, damn, I'm gonna go to the US, bro. You kidding me? You know, I mean, even just for me, as like coming from, even a random town like somewhere southeast of the country, going to the capital, I thought I made it in life, bro.
That was already a huge step,
exactly,
right?
Bro, that is a huge step because. In my family at that time, nobody in my family wanted me to move there.
Yeah.
Right? And in hindsight, it's understandable, right? But if I had gone there to do my bachelor's or even my master's to go to capital city, to us, I mean, that's success, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I was never supposed to make it this far, and then luckily, and I guess I know my local brain somehow, I finished my high school there after 2 years. And then that's when the idea of like, I could technically apply it to the US for like, for further studies, I could go technically to school there, and this could be a possibility. For literally just for once in my lifetime, I felt like, this is a possibility, right?
Yeah.
But everyone I knew in high school, where they were just the people I would talk to who were applying to the US, right? Everybody I would talk to, they took a gap year.
Okay.
So much so that I thought the only way you could apply to the US is you have to take a gap year.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
everybody around, like, because I didn't know any better. I was like, and it was only after I came to the US I knew. I was like, wait, you graduated just this summer?
Yeah, you started
Yeah,
right
exactly.
away.
You graduated in May and you're coming in August? Like, what?
I mean, you have to do all the applications and
Right,
everything,
right,
which
exactly.
have to be done like a year
Bro,
beforehand.
like
So
the seniors of high school, I can imagine, bro. It's crazy because I tutor some of the kids. That's rough on them. But in my in my gap year, I was primarily applying I'll say applying to the US, and so a lot of the SAT preparations, the TOEFL, we also had to take like English exam and application in itself as well. And when I was applying to the US, I was part of this program called Opportunity Funding.
okay.
So basically, when I was a senior in high school or the 12th grade, there was this program that came out of the U.S. Department of State or like the U.S. Embassy.
Yeah.
So it was strictly a funding program that was for underprivileged kids, where to apply to the U.S. should not be just restricted to money, right? So
Okay.
your finances should not impede you from applying to the U.S. And there was just like, I guess an analogy would be Fulbright and how people apply to masters through Fulbright program.
Yeah.
So in similar terms, I'll probably say for undergraduate,
Okay.
right? And then I was luckily part of that program. I had to apply for that program too. I was very rigorous in that sense just to get in there as well. But that program funded me to even apply. So they were covering my application fees, TOEFL. They even gave me pocket money when I came to the US, bro.
Oh, wow, that's a great program.
It was good. I mean, if it wasn't for that program, I don't think I had. I mean, my family didn't have the resources to even consider me to apply to the US. Right, just the application cost itself, because I think it adds up.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
You're right. It's even just a flight
application
ticket,
costs here, there.
Yeah, exactly.
But you eventually made it to the
Yeah,
United States, and your dream that you set out to do when you left to Kathmandu, do your AP schools, your A schooling. Eventually, through all the applications, then you made it to the United States. Do you still remember when you found out that you got accepted or that you were going? And
yeah, big time.
What was that like?
So,
and then tell me also how you shared that with your family and how they reacted.
So when I was doing my A levels, and after I was doing I was part of that program. So that program also taught us a lot of things, even like how to apply, how to even look for schools, even anywhere from like college board, all the way to sort of like how to even like edit the work on your essays and things like that, right? So they were really helping us like apply to these US colleges because they were pretty much getting us ready to that. And hey
brother, I don't want to like correct you, but yeah, if you go like this and the audio just
better.
Yeah, now you can hear yourself.
All right, so
I really hope that like all the video from before is got recorded, bro. Honestly.
Okay, so what was I talking? Yeah, so when in the gap year, so I was part of this program. That program we had the sessions. We had to go there every day, and once we're done with all the applications, I think SOCA's deadline was January 15.
Yeah.
Right. After I finished that, I don't know when the application decisions came out. Probably sometime in March. Might have been around that time as well too.
Yeah.
I didn't have any laptop, so bro,
yeah.
I didn't have any laptops to apply to even colleges at that time. I was going to cyber cafes to even. I was borrowing my brother's laptop. I was borrowing my friend's laptop just to apply to colleges as well.
Yeah.
And I had this small phone called I remember it's like Samsung C5212. It would just connect me to the internet.
Yeah.
And then
did just enough.
Yeah, just this enough. And I remember seeing like email from SOCA, I think was from Chelsea Duggar. It's typical, like, the decisions are out.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'll have to open this.
Yeah.
And I immediately like tried to find the laptop near me, open it. I was like, I accepted. Oh,
yeah. Great feeling.
Damn, bro. I mean, that was like, and SOCA fortunately was among the first decisions that I got. So rejections from other colleges, did not feel as bad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, I mean, soccer, like they gave me good financial aid at the time, so.
So you knew right away that you were going to the United States.
I wanted to go to United States. That is true. Soccer, not so much. Because I was applying to colleges at that time primarily either in the field of engineering because I wanted to study maths a lot.
Okay.
You know, I was really good. I wanted to study mathematics, and that was what I was good at too. And then all of the schools that I had applied to were in the northeast part of the country.
Yeah.
Right. So I was applying to liberal arts colleges like Amherst, Swarthmore,
Yeah.
you know, those kind of schools on the northeast part of the country. Soka was the only one in the west coast. You know, so, and yeah, that's how I applied to Soka.
How did your family react when you told them you were going to the US?
I think my family, for the most part, have always been supportive.
Yeah.
Because I know this can. I am lucky in that sense because I know many of my friends or even you see families in the eastern part of the world where they want you to study like this thing. And
Yeah.
you know, if you don't study this thing, no, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer.
True.
So they never set any like bounds for me. Sort of like if that's what you want to do, fair enough. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, also I am the first generation kid, so I didn't also have the support from my parents in terms of like they didn't know any better, right? They never went to school themselves, you know. Then so they were always supportive in that sense. Okay, whatever you want to study, if that's what you want to do, if you want to go to the US. I think finance was a big problem. Because I remember filling out the financial aid application form, and then one of the questions was like, "Oh, how much would your family be willing to sponsor?" And I'm like,
Zero. That's what I've got, is zero.
Because my advisor at that time was like, maybe you should put like $1,000, $2,000 a year so that at least you can afford flights.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, you're paying for it. If I could. Nah, so yeah, the finance was a big issue. And that was also a big reason why I chose Soka. Because of the financial aid component. Yeah.
And then you finally went to little sunny Southern California.
Yeah, but my first flight ever too.
First flight,
bro. Like I know people typically get like sad or like, oh, they're leaving the family behind. I was sad in some ways as well, but I was excited.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
hell excited too. It was my first flight. I'm going to the US because in my mind I'm like I had the right documents.
Yeah,
I can speak English somehow.
Yeah,
right? And then man, there's a whole world waiting for me.
What is there to lose?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I've been a curious kid, and that has worked in my favor too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How was your experience at Soka there at university? Like as a Nepali kid, being in Southern California, you know, like Orange County, California.
So I think I was spoiled. I feel, you know, I think we were all certainly my first taste of the United States.
Yeah.
Was like Southern California.
Yeah.
Bro. And especially to go to a school like Soka that pretty much take care of you.
Yeah.
Bruh, like, you know, because people could have rough starts. Like there could be a really colder climates, you know, or like, you know, it could be a different part of but it was like California, you know, that's
15 minutes from the beach.
Yeah, exactly, too, and not too far from like because there is always this America that you're promised,
right?
And that's like the New Yorks, that's like the San Francisco, or that's like the LAs of the world, right?
Yeah.
And I was not too far from it, in that, like, at least in terms of physical location. Yeah. So that felt exciting at first, you know.
But you had a great time. You met a lot of great people that you're still close with today. But you also met Chibi.
Yeah, that is true. I think one thing I'm always grateful for the school is, like, you know, the love of my life.
Nice. When's the wedding? I'm going.
You're coming.
To Nepal. I'm going to Nepal. I'm flying there.
I know, bro.
Is it gonna be in your town, Kathmandu?
It probably split two ways, because that's how the weddings go too. Sort of like there's the bride side, there's the groom side, you know. And my hometown is also farther from the capital city, so it probably be split two ways. We don't know when, but hopefully soon. Yeah.
And after Soka, I mean, what did you study at Soka? Like how was being there and doing that studying there different from doing all the studying in Kathmandu? Sure. Because I mean, the things that you study were from Cambridge, the curriculum. So it's kind of similar in a sense. But how was it different at Soka to see what you studied? Because you studied Spanish as well.
Yeah, bro. And I think I love the language too. So, you know, in Nepal, typically the education system is very linear. Yeah. In a sense that when you are in the 8th grade, you have to somehow decide like, oh, what do you want to really do in life? Right? So, so do you study like the first split is like, do you want to do STEM or do you want to do non-STEM?
Yeah.
Right. So like STEM. Okay. Oh, I was in the STEM branch, so I studied a lot of physics, chemistry, or like I was studying mathematics too. And if you're in the non-STEM one, that pretty much is, you go into a different trajectory, and some of that feels like irreversible.
Yeah.
Right. And I was very much a STEM kid. I was studying physics, chemistry, computer science, mathematics, and all of that. But I also wanted to sort of, branch out a little bit, because I knew that there's a world out there. For example, I always wanted to study economics. I don't know why at that time, but that I was like, I want to do that too. Like same with writing too. That's why I applied to a lot of the liberal arts colleges, because I knew that they would give me that breadth, or
there's a diversity of thought and different things of.
I just wanted to study that, like, not necessarily maybe do anything with it, but just I wanted to explore that.
Yeah.
And liberal arts college gave me that. And when I was applying for SOCA, I should say that, because you probably know Prakash. Yeah. So he also came to the US to the same program, the same funding program that I came to. So we had this network of alumni, and I had reached out to him. So I knew that he was there. So that also gave me, this could be a college that I could apply to.
Yeah.
And I looked at the course catalog. I was like, and I saw a lot of math courses at that time.
Yeah.
Damn, I was like,
not many of those.
In practice, yes, but I mean, in course catalog, I was like, damn, I could study this, that, too. This looks exciting. I don't know what that is, but this looks good.
Yeah.
So that took me sort of, okay, maybe this is a school that I could apply to. It's liberal arts, but still, hey, I mean, there are courses that I could take. And I did not know how it was going to turn out after I came to the school. But I primarily remember trying to study like STEM and mathematics. And
So after learning English, which must have been difficult already in itself, then you went ahead and studied Spanish.
Spanish, so yeah. Then,
¿Cómo te va el español?
No, ahora se me murió, tío.
¿Cómo que no?
No, you know how when you start in Duolingo, it's typically the first is like, yo como las manzanas.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm back to that level. Yo bebo el agua.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, the language, I was, at that time, I felt, it did not feel any different. I was like, yeah, I can take Spanish.
Yeah.
Because I was excited, actually, I would say, to take Spanish, because I knew that I was coming to SOCA, and then I had English, and then with Spanish, French, Chinese, and Japanese.
Yeah.
I feel like I sucked less in Spanish compared to other three.
Yeah.
I was like, that's primarily how I chose Spanish, to be fair.
And then you went to Sevilla for your study abroad experience.
That is true too. I think primarily because of football.
Yeah. Why? Because you like Betis, no?
Nah.
Well, come on.
Okay, to be fair, I did not know that like Sevilla also had real Betis. Because I only knew that was like Sevilla, probably because of the name too. And also the study abroad, in a sense, I chose Sevilla because I wanted to, because the first split is like, okay, do you want to go to Spain or do you want to go to South America?
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Spain primarily because of football.
Yeah.
And other things also lined up, like the program, I wanted to learn a cluster, and so in terms of schedule, that also worked out. But I also wanted to study Spanish, I would say. And so I thought, if I were to go to, let's say, Madrid or Barcelona, I felt that I could have just gotten away speaking English.
Yeah.
English, right? I mean, they're much more cosmopolitan compared to Sevilla. So that's why I wanted to go to Sevilla. And I wanted to be specific in terms of, like, I also want to live with a family.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get that experience, At first it was rough, man.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was rough. Because
how come?
At first, I remember, at SOCA, like, the Spanish you learn is pretty much the South American Spanish, right? You don't use vosotros.
No.
Right? And even the words were different. Like, for instance, el baño is like el aseo.
Yeah.
I was saying el baño all the time. People don't understand.
And the accent in Sevilla is so...
Oh my God.
It's so deep. So
it's thick. Even people in Spain, you make fun of, like, the Sevillano accent.
Es andaluz. Like, lo que hablan es andaluz.
And then they eat the S part, it's like... Carlos becomes Carlo.
Yeah.
Like, Carlo, no me diga que no. Es posible. Es posible. It was very thick, I feel like I was watching somebody speaking 2X.
Yeah.
Because other accents are much clearer. I find like, for instance, people like Mexican accents are much clearer. Like same I feel with
Yeah.
other part of South America too. But like Sevillano, at first.
Yeah, it takes a while to get used to it.
Yes,
So you
yeah,
can,
too.
especially the listening at the beginning. It's so
Yeah. But on the flip side was also true. Like if you could master that, you
yeah.
could master any other accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually got the hang of it, I would say. Yeah.
And then you came back to the United States, graduated,
Yep.
and you wanted to stay here in the United States. You didn't want to go back to Nepal yet.
I had that. I had student that, so it wasn't that much of a choice, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wanted to study there, sort of. So for the Soka, I had either just to apply for like work authorizations, probably work in the US for a year, but I don't think I had as much of a marketable skill. And I said marketable, right? I had skills, but marketable in the sense that the tangible piece is hard. Right?
Yeah, it's
So
difficult
now-
to sell what you learned at
Exactly,
Soka,
and especially-
liberal arts school.
Yeah, especially I think like the non-tangible component is hard to sell.
Yeah.
It's much easier, I feel, to say that, oh, I can program, I can build
Yeah.
like a software, or I can program in Python and all of the languages. It's easier said than it is to sort of like, oh, I can think,
Yeah.
or like I can communicate well, because that thing is a hard sell. But I would say that is probably more important than just like the hard skills and stuff.
Yeah.
And the fourth year at that time, I felt like maybe I have to go to grad school because I wanted to get a deep dive into like a STEM degree, so primarily into like the world of machine learning, data science, as we say. At that time, I either had that option, or I wanted to go to work or the workforce. Then I was like, okay, it was grad school for me. I was taking both of them hand in hand. So eventually, the grad school.
And what did you study? Data science?
Well, okay, so it primarily yes, but the way I got in, that's the tricky part too. So my degree at Carnegie Mellon was in public policy and management, with a concentration in data analytics. It's a mouthful, because the degree at Soka, I primarily took classes in economics and statistics. Right? It's I was trying to take I took pretty much all the economics classes, maybe not the international economics, and like some statistics and as many technical classes that I could. And I wanted to pivot into like a STEM degree, and this was the closest I could come. So much so that I think at Carnegie Mellon I had applied for a different program, and they accepted me into a completely different program.
Oh wow!
Like they told me like, okay, based on your profile, what you have done, what you have studied, what you would like to do, this program might be a better fit for you. And that's what the application office, the admissions office said to me. I was like, yeah. And one thing I knew about the Carnegie Mellon part was like you could really leverage the ecosystem. So, you could take classes from like different school, you could take classes from different degree even. So I knew at the back of my mind, this was probably the closest I could get to like a technical school and the technical degree. And I could still leverage, So even though my degree says public policy and management, and I did take some policy classes because that was required of us. But most of my coursework, if you had to look at my transcript, were really taking classes.
Wow,
and I was taking classes from School of Computer Science.
It's a great way to get what you want without specifically studying that degree, because it's difficult to get into if you don't have the background already.
Yeah, that is true too. I certainly leveraged the ecosystem. I would say that the school had to.
And now you're out here in Atlanta working.
Yeah, I've been 2.5 years. Yeah, I've been working since my graduation too.
What are some of the things that you're still looking forward to in your future? Like career-wise, but personal-wise.
That's how do I put it? So I think one thing I keep.
Remember the microphone.
You gotta keep reminding me. Thank you. I would say, so 4 years at undergrad, 2 years at masters, so that's 6 years already, and then courtesy of my master's degree, we get like if you're still on a student visa, you get 3 years of work authorization. So 1 year and then 2 years of extension if your degree is a STEM. Yeah. And throughout this period, I've always been sort of, I'm on a non-immigrant visa, and I feel like I've always moved around in terms of like, whether that's for school. When like when I finished my grad school, she was still in her second year of grad school. So she went to school and she went to Tufts, and so we moved to Boston. Yeah. We were at Boston for about a year, and because my work was remote, so that also gave me the flexibility, and that was also in part why I chose the remote job, because I could be with her physically as well, you know. And then Boston, and then from Boston to Atlanta because she found a job in Atlanta. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, so long the internet works, you know. Atlanta
Yeah.
is where it's at. So I think maybe something I look forward to is probably have more, a little more stability, some more agency in life, you know. You know, I feel like to move around, you know, there was one point where we moved to 3 different states in 1 year.
Wow, that's a
That
lot of
was
moving.
rough. Moving is rough.
Yeah, especially like these long distances in the United
Definitely,
States.
like,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, even moving to a different city within the same state is rough. But
Yeah.
different state, oh boy. But yeah, and maybe having that stability, maybe also some sort of agency in life,
Yeah.
let's say, because when you are in a non-immigrant visa in
Yeah.
the US, right? It is, I mean, you know it too, bro. Like, sort of, you don't get to decide whether you get to stay in this country or not,
Yeah.
right? And for instance, the work for me, it's not just work, you know, where I get a paycheck or like, you know, where I get to exhibit my skills. It is literally the basis of my legality in this country.
Yeah.
Right? If my employer were to kick me out, knock on the wood, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, then, like, you know, the doors are closed for me.
Yep. True.
So,
True.
having sort of like that sort of freedom and maybe some agency is probably what I look to.
Having to take that burden away from you, you know. Well, hopefully you get that soon, man. You, it's coming. I can feel it. It's coming soon.
It's a lot of times I think about maybe green card is the way out in terms of like having permanent residency in this country.
Yeah.
You know, because this country also, I feel like United States, like coming from Nepal, like especially from like a small town, I feel like anybody gets to realize their potential in this country. If there's one country, it has to be this, right? And then I feel like,
well said.
you know, so I certainly felt that in terms of I could realize my potential in terms of like how much I could be in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no any country like, you know, of course, like United States as a country has its flaws, you know, but this is where I get to realize, you know, my potential, how much I could even achieve, how far I can go, right? It certainly gives me that. It's a land of opportunity for a reason. So
that's what they call it, American dream.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I think that's a great spot to wrap it up right there with the expectation of the American dream.
Right. So.
Thank you for being on the podcast of The World is Groot.
All right.
Because the world truly is Groot with you in it.
That's fun, bro. Thank you for having me, man.
All right. Awesome.
Great.
What did you think, bro?
Oh, it's fun. It felt like it went by fast, didn't it?
Yeah, 40 minutes.
40 minutes? All right.